Hey guys, Tommy Mays here. I want to talk to you guys today about classic WoW servers. I've been seeing a lot of opinions from players that are talking about the different ways that Blizzard could make them, and I'm really happy to see so many people just as excited and enthusiastic as I am. We all want the servers to be the best that they can be, and I know for many of us that that can mean different changes or lack of changes. I'm making this video because a lot of the opinions that I've been hearing and reading coming from people who I think have never played vanilla or have only had one private server experience, which is Nostarius. So I'd like to start by saying that I've been playing on the private server scene for over 6 years now. I did play vanilla, and what I don't want to say that I've gotten very far in vanilla, but I did kill at least one boss in Nax Ramus, and that was it. I wish I could see more, but that's the way it was. So I've seen vanilla WoW recreated in multiple styles. Each server had a different benefit and shortcoming. My guild has played on many of these private servers, and most of us agree after experiencing different styles that certain aspects of the original vanilla experience can be a lot better. Before I go on, I'd like to say that I'm very grateful for what the Nostarius team has done for the Classic WoW community. Without them, who knows if classic servers would have ever come to light. In this video, I will be recommending a few changes, and I'm sure it'll piss a few of you guys off, but I'd really appreciate it if you'd hear me out before you get mad and automatically write it off as the wall of no. Get the pitchforks out and torches and all of that. Of all the private servers I've played, Nostarius has had the best pathing and server population by far. And even though the population came at the cost of view distance, it was still fun to experience such a massive community. But contrary to public belief, Nostarius didn't really become so popular because it was an awesome representation of vanilla WoW. It was prematurely released to beat Chronos to market during a drought in the private server scene and the gaming industry as a whole. It was a case of being at the right place at the right time and snowballing all the way into the mainstream. So I won't bore you guys with a list of all the bugs, but I will say that even though that there were they were mostly fixed. In some ways, it was just an old version of stock mangoes. Maybe let me see here. Mobs would, spam their abilities such as disarm. They would backstab you in the face. Hunter pets ignored armor so they could tear through anyone, clothy or plate, in seconds. I could go on and on about all of this, but I won't. So, as far as gameplay on launch, it was actually one of the worst private server experiences I've ever had. Um, Even though they did fix some of the issues over time, I get a little irritated when I see a video or I read a comment with somebody that has their hearts popping all over in their eyes for Nostarius, and they think Blizzard can just turn on their servers and we'd have an exact retail vanilla WoW experience. I really can just rant for probably days about all the things that were wrong with Nostarius, but the main point of this video is one thing in particular, which is rating. And I understand for many of you, this was your first time coming back, or maybe even playing Vanilla WoW, but many of the voices I've been hearing since the announcement of Classic servers have reminded me of what I like to call Nost babies. Players who think the answer is having Blizzard release servers with the same Nostalrius progression timelines, even though most of them came into Nostalrius late and don't have any other private server experiences to reference for their opinion. And as I've said before, I played on multiple private servers, and each one did something better than the other. For example, the best raiding experience I had was on Scriptcraft 2, which was made by Gummy, the guy who got shut down in 20 minutes, that guy. All of the bosses were retuned to be difficult with 1.12 talents and gear, and the amount of information that was out there to help people play a lot better. BWL came out 2 weeks after the first guild killed Rag, and ZG came out 2 weeks after BWL, and no one had even killed Nev yet when ZG dropped. Now, before you apes go bananas on me, let me explain why this was the best for me. The bosses were just so exciting. When our guild killed a boss, you'd hear this roar of excitement, excited nerds, just like it was in 2005 Ventrilo. Casters got their much needed spell hit gear, they got their spell power boost so that damage wasn't completely dominated by rogues and warriors. The mechanics couldn't be ignored. The debuff limit was 16 instead of 8, which helps with class balance. By the way, guys, the video we're watching is Broodlord Lash Slayer on Scriptcraft 2. So meanwhile on Nost, the Nost timeline, there was 4 months of easy MC with garbage loot, except for Bone Reaver's Edge, that dropped like 20% of the time, you guys. 20% off of Rag. There was one piece of spell hit gear. There was spell power was cut in half. Nothing was exciting except getting lucky with Rag loot, and there is no such thing as progression. And it quickly turned into every guild collecting their welfare epics once a week while hoping to get lucky on Rag loot. On Nostalrius, my guild literally one-shot every single boss in blues and greens in our first MC with a joint run with another guild. And I'll let you know right now, I played a paladin then, and I literally hit 60 20 minutes before the raid started. No joke. There was, it was that easy. That easy. There was no BWL for 6 months, but the PvP system is in at launch. And what this does is make it so the hardcore players that want the best gear have to grind to rank 14. And I believe that rank 14 should just be an option for the guys who are truly passionate about PvP, but not necessarily the best way to spend your time. Most of the self-proclaimed hardcore guilds on Scriptcraft were stuck on Razorgore or Velistraz. I mean, even Domo in some cases. But knowing that sweet, sweet, succulent loot was out there, just waiting for you, just wanting it. Oh, you wanted it so bad, you were going to go get it. They kept him going. The people grinded harder, played better. My guild killed Neff when the highest ranking PvPers were just hitting rank 10. It felt so much better not being time gated while farming shitty gear and being forced into what most people agree is the shitty PvP system. Instead, it was hard content to raid, and as a guild, the more you put into it, the better rewarded you would get by it. On Nostarius, we would just fly through a buggy molten core once a week, hoping not to get Shard of Flame by Reg. Oh yeah, that's another really good point. Rag only dropped one non-set piece on Nostalrius. It was like we were stuck in purgatory for 4 months, and the only way out was a soul-sucking, shitty grind rank to 14. And I get a little salty when I see so many people advocating for Nostalrius like path progression, or even worse, the idea at starting 1.2. Like, oh my, 1.0, just god. Ugh. Oh god, it's like a pain in my brain. It just punches my eyeballs out from the back every time I see it. 1.0 patch progression. Guys, in 1.0, Warriors had a 225% mortal strike. Sorry, molten strike. It's not a real spell. Weapons weren't really normalized. In fact, they weren't normalized. It wasn't really. They just weren't. Rogues could one-shot any clothy with a Barman Shanker with ambush. Casters got no spell power or spell hit, and some of their defensive spells weren't even in the game. There's just plenty of stuff almost as dumb as that. It's just a horrible idea. I've been hearing a lot of people saying vanilla isn't balanced class-wise, but in 1.12 it actually kind of is. That just isn't the case in the patches before. The big thing is, guys, without all of that argumentation and all that, the thing that we all loved about vanilla was the community and the challenge that we had. People are demanding that vanilla just be vanilla. Well, guys, I really want that too. I really do. And in order to have that, we have to readjust to the times, and the content needs to reflect the level of difficulty it was back then. That means that raid numbers have to be tuned up. No more of this every guild on the same boss where consumables don't matter, and every guild with an ounce of experience is at no risk at wiping ever. If the content isn't difficult, the only thing to do if you want to compete with other guilds are speed runs. And we've seen this so many times on multiple private servers in the community. When there is the only competition that you have with other guilds comes down to speedrunning, that to me says that the game isn't hard enough. So let's raise the stakes. Now don't get me wrong, speedrunning can be fun at some point on the server, but it shouldn't be the only avenue of competition, especially at the start of a server. I remember in vanilla when guilds were on different bosses, and killing a new boss might push you ahead of your rival guild. The content needs to be challenging, feel rewarding, and have a structure in such a way that bosses are keeping people back from their goals. And maybe later down the road, when the team gets better gear, speed run away. How many people in actual vanilla were stuck on Baelistraz, Chromagus, Princess Huhuran, Twin Imps, Setha, Patchwork, Thaddeus, the Four Horsemen, and Kel'Thuzad even, if your guild even made it there. Bosses can still be a challenge. I've seen tuned up raids and dungeons in practice, and it makes for much, much better PvE experience. When the bosses are easy, the epics you get from them feel cheap. There is no sense of accomplishment. There is no sense of reward. It's just everybody's the same, and that's not why people play vanilla. That's retail. Ooh, no, tank almost died there. The reason I'm saying this, guys, is we all have really done the impossible. It took a considerable amount of time, tears, and frustration, and persistence, but we did it. We convinced a multi-billion-dollar company to change their mind, to give us a chance. So let's not waste this opportunity by asking for 6 months of time-gated molten core face roll dog shit PVE. Let's experience how vanilla raiding is supposed to be, how it's supposed to feel, by asking for raid difficulties to be returned so that they are a challenge again. And the only thing holding us back is ourselves. Let Blizzard, if you're watching this, please hire Gummy. Please. Just hire him. It'll make everything so much more fun. So, now that I've gotten that off my chest, I'd like to talk to you guys about my plans for the future. There are a lot of misconceptions, even in this day and age, about Classic WoW. Part of the problem that I'm seeing is a large number of streamers and other popular loudmouths in the community have been spreading information that I don't think is fully correct, or in some cases just downright wrong. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I just don't think that they have the experience to know differently, and either are repeating something that they've heard or something that they've read, which is a long time ago, spreading misconceptions. And it really bothers me, seeing so many people spreading false information on a game that I'm so passionate about. That's why I'll be releasing videos in this series to offer a counterweight to some of the ideas that have been circulating in the Classic WoW discussion. So in part 2, I'll be discussing one of the main falsehoods that I've been seeing spread around in the community, and that's class balance. I've heard so many things about how in vanilla there is no such thing as class balance, and people can't play the talents they aren't. Well, that's all a fallacy. So I'll be discussing that and the recent poll from Reddit, which has well over 30,000 votes by now, I think. Or yeah. So stay tuned, and guys, of course, thanks for watching.